everyone, it's Renee with Delaney Jane Cards. Welcome back to my channel. Got a long video for you today, so well, I hope you're along for the ride. It's way longer than normal. I left in a lot of coloring because this card is a lot of coloring. What it is 3 different Bugaboo digital stamps, and I have layered them in my Silhouette software. It looks like a bunch of nothing at first, but I'm going to make a scene and I'm going to do a lot of coloring. So I like watching coloring. I like to color. I know lots of other people like to color too. So if you don't like to watch coloring, I will put a timestamp for you to skip ahead to when all the coloring is done, and just like magic, the card comes together. But this card is 99% coloring. What I'm doing here is masking out a little bit of the scene. I wanted this little girl to be on a beach, so I didn't want to waste all my Copic ink. So I am putting some distress ink just on the sand there, just to help kind of get the paper ready for my Copic markers. And then I'm going to mask that off. I did not mask these digital images at all. I just was careful when I tried to be careful when I was ink blending. You'll see that it doesn't work out to be exactly as careful as I probably should have been. But it is what it is. And in the end, I love the card. I think it's super bright and fun, and it screams summer. And these Bugaboo images are so adorable that I couldn't help it. I had to put them together and make a cute little scene. All I could think of was like this mom and her kids were at the beach, and there's like the teenager, see her in the back, and the little girl, and then like a toddler boy, and he's of course screwing around in a bucket, and he's got himself out in the water, and the girls are like, well, we're not going to rescue you. Good luck with that, brother. Because, that's how I would have been if one of my brothers was out in a bucket in the water. Oh, I would have been like, well, bye, I gotta go. Anyway, so I did speed up the coloring. I normally do to 4 times. So it looks like I'm coloring really fast, but it's just a lot of coloring. And I was coloring that kind of fast. I'm using some E30 markers, the deeper E30s, E35, E39, E37, to just add a little more texture to the sand that the girl is on. I used some stippling, made some hills and some kind of valleys in the sand. And then I did shade back along the skyline. Skyline? Yeah, I guess like skyline, right? Shaded that so that the horizon line, that's what I'm looking for, so that it appeared to be farther away. And I'm just stippling here. It's just small dots. The more condensed the dots, the darker it will look. And then also the darker the color you're using, the darker it will look. So if you use a combination of that, you'll get shading, really good shading, lots of depth and dimension. And sand is kind of grainy, so this technique works out really well for that. I just kind of, I don't know, kind of played around and added hills and valleys and, things in there. I will add additional details later, but I was just kind of laying out where I wanted all of the shading to be. I want to fill in the background first before I do the kids. And that was more so because I didn't want to mask these kids. And if I screwed up the background, at least I hadn't put in all the effort into coloring all the details in those kids. So I figured I would do the background first. It was also kind of easier because if I went over the edges, I could just push the color out of the dress or the feet or whatever. The only one you'll see that I have a little trouble with is that teenager that I called her in the back there. I do have some blue distress ink on her foot. We'll make it work for us later, but right now we're working on sand. So you can see how it's starting to get some depth and dimension. I did add a little bit of shadow where the little girl in the bonnet is standing. These are 3 different images from Bugaboo Stamps. They have tons and tons of super adorable images, and I like their line strength in their images too. They're really good for paper piecing and layering and things like that, because their lines are nice and thick, so you can cut on the line and you don't have to be super precise. And I just feel like the bold line kind of lends itself well to people that don't normally use a digital image because it's that bolder line kind of looks a lot like a stamped image. And I printed this out onto Nina 80-pound cardstock, and I did use my new Canon laser printer, and I am loving that for digital images. And I also use the Silhouette software. I did not cut this out with the Silhouette, but I use the software to manipulate my images. It's free. I would recommend you try it out if you're looking to try out digital images. It's way easy. If I can do it, you can do it. I'm telling you, I don't know all the things that it can do, but I know that it does what I want it to do when I ask. So there's that. I would suggest that you give that a try, and I am loving this. I'm loving digital images because of this new combination of the Silhouette software and my laser printer. I just am finding that they're way easier to use than I thought they were. So if you're on the fence about digital images, give that software a try. And I was printing them with my inkjet printer too. It was just fine, but I'm really liking this laser printer. I know that I could run this through my foil or my laminator with foil, and it will foil the lines if I want. And they don't smear with water. The other thing is when I printed this out, one of the first things I did was die cut the panel. I used the MFT Dynamics Blueprints 2, I believe. Now I have the 1 and the 2 and the rectangles. I'm not sure which set they actually are with. They're kind of a layered rectangles, the largest rectangle in each set. So I'm not sure which one this is. It came out of Blueprints 2 that I have labeled, but might not be Blueprints 2. Might not be. And then I started all of my coloring. I die cut it first. I wanted to make sure I didn't color more than I needed to. You see there where my lake and my sand meet. I did bring the sand color, the lightest, E7 or E31. I brought that all the way into the water to add a little bit of beach under there. And now I'm going to go in and kind of fill in the sky. Now, I didn't get like the smoothest blend on the sky, but that's okay. I kind of didn't want it. I wanted it to be like that wispy clouds look. And I will go in and add some more clouds too to make sure that I get that kind of feel. But here I'm just filling in the sky as much as I can with this lighter color here. I wanted to kind of not have a dry edge. I wanted to kind of always work with the wet edge. It helps with blending. And I showed the caps, but I have this sped up, so I will have to go look if somebody's interested in what markers I used. It was a lot. There was a lot of markers because this is a lot of coloring. When I do get to the main images, I do keep in, all of the pink is one combination, all of the orange is another, all of the purple is another. So I did that, but there's a lot of color combinations, so there's a lot of that. I believe the sky is B02, B01, and B00 or B00. Yeah, it's those really light blues. And I did that because I have that deeper, darker tone in the water. And I wanted them to have a little bit of contrast there, so you could definitely tell the difference between the water and the sky. And here I'm bringing in the colorless blender to just kind of add some wispy clouds in the sky, because I didn't get that perfect blend and I wanted it to look like I meant to do it. So I added those to mean to do it. Then I started with the coloring of my cute little kids on the beach here. I mean, they are so adorable, and when I layered them in the Silhouette software, I kind of made sure that I wasn't going to have like tiny weird pieces, like I wasn't sure what things were. So that's why they're actually kind of laid where they are, so that I don't have any like, I wonder if that's a foot, or is it part of the shovel, or what is it kind of pieces. And that's something I kind of sometimes forget to do when I am masking and stamping, because I can't really move the whole image. Once I put it down, it's down. So that's one really nice thing about this digital stuff, is you can move the whole image before you print anything. You can move it around. So you can see the little bonnet girl with her bucket. She's in front of that teenager, but I made sure that you could see part of the foot And I made sure that you could tell that it's part of the foot. And I did that more so for me because I'm the one that's going to be coloring it. But I wanted to make sure that I was not going to be confused as to what I was coloring. So here I'm just going through and I'm adding the skin tone that I'm going to be using on all of these little kids. Because like I said, one family, all the same skin tone. So I did put in a BV, and that's going to help me hide that blue that got on the teenager's foot. And I usually use a BV underneath my skin tone when it's like this kind of a skin tone anyway. Even a deeper, darker skin tone, a lot of times I'll pull in a deeper, darker BV color. I just like the way it looks. It's a trick I picked up from Sandy Allnock, and I love it. Been doing it for a very long time. So I just went through all my E markers here, and I blended in the skin tone and colored all the little kids. And then I'm going to start just kind of working through my colors, and I'm going to color everything that's one color and then, work from there. It just helped me make sure that I got, all of the tones on the scene, and they're spread out enough. You seen I brought in some more of that deeper, darker tone for the top of her foot so that it looked more like I meant to do it and not like, oops, I got blue ink on her foot. So this is the orange combination I'm going to use for the bucket and all of the orange bits and pieces. I tried to keep the blends to a 3-color blend. So the orange is a 3-color blend, the pink is a 3-color blend, etc. I just felt like there was a lot of coloring going on and a lot of spaces, and I really didn't need, it's going to be bright and bold and colorful. I didn't need all sorts of contrast. I could get, fairly decent contrast with a 3-color blend. I felt like I did not need to bring in a 4th deep dark color. You'll have to tell me, do you think that I got good contrast by the time we were done, or what color do you think was lacking when I was coloring? So here I'm just deciding what is going to be what color. I had no actual plan for like what was going to be orange or pink or purple or green. And actually, while I was coloring this, I was texting somebody going, do you think that this should be purple? Do you think that green would look good here? I need a local friend that can craft with me. Somebody that can come over to my house and sit here in my craft room and be like, yes, that looks good. Because I get to coloring and I don't always think that my colors look good together. This one I kind of figured would, and the bright, bold colors. But I did ask somebody, do you think that this color should go here? Do you think that this color should go there? Like, I couldn't do it on my own. I don't know. I need like classes in confidence, I think, because in the end, I feel like I love the card, so I should have just been like, yes, I know what I'm doing and I'm good, but it's not how my mind works. My mind is full of doubts and insecurities, but that's why I color. I color as a mental health break. I've had a lot of things go on in my life, and I have been through art therapy, where you go through therapy and it's all art driven, it was kind of cool. So this is kind of my art therapy for me anyway, to help me kind of lose myself in the coloring. And, I probably don't really resolve any of the things that are bugging me, but I can take the focus off of them for a little while. And sometimes that is really what I need, is to focus on something other than what is actually going on in my world. Because, the world in general has a lot going on right now, but my world, there's always a lot. So I color a lot, which is probably why I enjoy watching people color, because it does the same thing for me. I can really lose myself in the coloring just as much as I can lose myself in the coloring when I'm doing it. Which is kind of why I leave the coloring in. I'm sorry if you're not a fan of coloring. Maybe just zoning out and watching someone color can do for you what it does for me, which is definitely gives my brain a break. So that's probably why That's probably why I'm not always sure what, if something looks good or what color I should use, because really my brain is on like autopilot when I'm doing this, and it doesn't necessarily I can't necessarily think through what is going to give me the best contrast or the best image or lighting issues, where a highlight should be or all of that stuff. I don't always think that through. And I think that's why I struggle when people ask me like, well, how did you know where the light source was going to be? I didn't. I didn't. I colored it because I thought it would look good in my head. I colored it because I was thinking about this XYZ problem that was going on in my world. And I ended up coloring this without realizing that I was coloring it that way, or, something along those lines. I don't always think about the coloring when I'm coloring. I can't always answer, why did the dark go there? Why did the light go there? I'm sorry, but I can't. What I can tell you is that I enjoyed myself. I loved coloring, whatever it is that I showed you. I absolutely loved the product that I ended up with. I'm just as surprised as you are sometimes as to how something turns out. I mean, sometimes there's a plan. Don't get me wrong. Sometimes I sit down, I have an idea of what I want to do, and I just go for it. But 99% of the time when I get to coloring, I'm not available anywhere else. I mean, my kids can be talking to me, my husband can be talking to me. I don't always hear them when I'm coloring, which I guess could be a good and bad thing. But if you're looking to let your mind relax a little bit, stop stressing about where the highlights should be, where the shadows should be. Color it so it looks good to you and just enjoy yourself. Just simply take the time to let your brain rest and let your thoughts rest and just enjoy coloring. Remember when you were a kid and you would lay down on the floor with a brand new coloring book and a brand new box of crayons. It didn't matter what else was going on in the world. You were going to color a picture. That's me when I sit down to color a picture. Doesn't matter what it is. If it's one little thing on a card or a huge scene like this, doesn't matter what it is. I am still laying on the floor with my crayons, blocking out the world, coloring a picture. And that's how I look at it. This is therapy for me. It is 100% what keeps me sane and moving, and it keeps my world running. It keeps me fueled, keeps me filled, and it keeps my cup full. If I didn't have crafting and coloring in my world, I'm not really sure where or what I would be doing, because this definitely fills me. So find what fills you. If it's watercoloring, if it's just colored stamping, if it's just die cut cards, if it's something that just keeps your hands busy, find what fills you and do it. This hobby can be really expensive if you let it. I don't really have a big budget because I don't need a big budget. I don't de-stash. I don't worry about the latest and greatest that's coming out. I don't worry about something not being available so I won't use it. And I know that can be a downfall because there's people that want the things that I use. But here's the deal. Those things, they all come back around, just like fashion. I can pull out 8 different butterfly stamps that I have. They're all going to look very similar to anything that was just released. And I didn't need to buy anything new. Now, it's not to say that I don't like new stuff, because I do. I love buying new things. I love getting new things. I love taking new things and incorporating them into what I already have. But I'm just saying, don't get your brain all caught up on what I have to buy to make this work for me. Just color. Just be that kid laying on the living room floor with a coloring book and some crayons. It doesn't matter if it's the latest and greatest and newest and most fabulous thing on the market. What matters is you enjoyed yourself. What matters is that you had time to take a break. What matters is that this is what you did for self-care. What matters is that you love the end product. What matters is that you didn't stress for a few minutes. You didn't stress over anything, over what's going on in the world, over if you had toilet paper, over if you could pay your electric bill, over if you could buy the newest stamp set or pay for a new, release or get a new pad of paper. Lay on the floor, color with your crayons. Worry about that. Just my 2 cents. I'll get off my soapbox now and we'll go back to the coloring here. The way that these are drawn, they're very easy to color and get the shading. The artist has done a really good job of leaving the spaces that are supposed to be colored and kind of showing you where they should be shaded. Lots of lines come together in the places where they're going to be dark, like the little kid's hair, the little boy. You can see that the strands of hair are coming from underneath his little sailor hat there. That's where it's going to be darker. You can see how the little sailor hat's drawn. You can tell that there's the inside ledge. So you can see where I put the shading. The little teenage girl, the way her hair is drawn, she has the bob underneath, and then there's strands of hair that are over top. So you get the dimension. You don't really have to do too much except for shade. So you see that highlight is on the roundest part of her head there. The little girl with the bonnet, you can see where they have drawn in all of the little wrinkles on the bonnet. The shading is really easy. This, I wanted to show you the glasses because I was experimenting here. I wanted them to look like they were reflective. So first I put in the pink and the blue because the pink is right in front of her. That would reflect, and the blue would be the sky. So then I went in with some cool grays and I started just kind of shading them in to add like what you would see from, the black mirrored glasses. And I just added some streaks and then some lines around the edges. And I thought that it looked like the mirrors on the glasses. I really liked how they turned out, so I wanted to make sure I left that in. And then I did go over them with my Spectrum Noir glitter pen. I went over the glass lenses and a few of the little details here. Nothing too intricate. And then I used this Marvy snow marker. And I left this at this angle because I wanted you to see how this really works, because I don't think mine works exactly how it's supposed to. I always have to push it out on a sticky note there. If I pushed it down on my card, it would leave like a big puddle, and I didn't want that. I usually don't want that. So I just use a little sticky note and kind of move it with the nib of the marker. Once I had it kind of all filled in there at the edge of the beach and then around him, I did heat it up, and I did leave this part in so you can see what happens when you heat this with the heat tool. It just puffs up so cool, and it adds so much texture. And I loved it. And now the sky's looking really plain, and I know I needed to finish that. So I decided I added some glossy accents to her glasses and made them really shiny. So then I used this Paper Smooches set, and this Paper Smooches set is my favorite Paper Smooches set ever. And I just recently seen that Paper Smooches is going out of business, and it made me so incredibly sad. I just can't believe that she's going out of business. She has some of the cutest sets available, in my opinion. This set is called Sunnyville. I actually saved my pennies for several weeks in order to pick it up. It is my favorite. I masked out the little cloud and cut it out and of some Gina K masking paper. It's the same stuff that I used to make my scene, and then I stamped the cloud and then the sunshine so that the cloud would kind of be over top of it. And then I kept the sun in kind of the same position there, and I'm going to stamp the sun itself onto my panel. That way I didn't have to worry about the rays from the sun when I cut this out. I did color the sun up with some Copics really quick. Used kind of the same, I kept all the same colors. So the same Y combination here, with that Y, I think it's 19 is my darkest and the Y02 is my lightest. You get pretty good contrast there with that. And then I fussy cut it out. Trying to stay on the outside edge of the line. It doesn't really matter though, because I stamped it on the card. But I did do that, and then I went around the edges here with the black marker. Had I thought about this part in advance, I would have stamped this and the sentiment down before I even got to coloring, but I didn't. And because I used so much blue, I didn't think I could push that color aside enough to add the yellow for the sun. So I just figured I would go ahead and piece that on top. And then I'm going to add this cute sentiment. I thought these two paired so well together. Like I said, that Paper Smooches set is like my favorite set. I love their stuff. I'm really sad that they're going to be going out of business. I did see that there's good sales, so if you're looking to pick up some of the really cute Paper Smooches images, now would be a good time to do so. I might have to save some pennies and go look and see what's left. But for right now, I only have a few Paper Smooches sets. I wish I could have supported them more, but like I said, my crafty budget isn't very big, and I have to pick and choose sometimes what I do buy. So I did lay the sun down here with the little cloud so that it is over in the space on the sun or in the sky. And I felt like the sentiment and the sun then kind of filled out the sky and balanced it out well. You have to tell me, do you think that it balanced it out enough, or do you think that it needed something else? So here I was like, oh yeah, I die cut this so that I would have a border. So I need a piece of black, and I thought that the black would also help these colors just pop. They're really bright, bold summer colors, and it did. I feel like it did. Made it pop a little bit better than on the white. There I was checking to see if the glasses were dry enough, and they were. So then I took my white gel pen and I added the little shine line to the sunglasses and in a few more places. If you put the white underneath the glossy accents, there's a chance that it'll just eat it and disappear. The same with the glitter pen. If you put it underneath that glitter pen, it'll like wipe it right off. So it's best to put it on after. And then my liquid adhesive is starting to run out. I've gone through quite a few different ones lately. I'm not sure what my next brand is going to be. Not sure if I'm going to replace the Nuvo, or if I'm going to go back to Art Glitter Glue, or if I'm going to get my Tombow replaced, or the Scrap Perfect glue. But we will see what it is, but I have to figure it out pretty soon because we're getting to the end. And then I did add some white dots to the sand, just to add a little bit of texture. So there's my card. I would love to know what you think in the comments below. And as I always say, thank you for stopping by and give cards generously. And thanks for hanging out with me for so long today. Bye.